Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to share with you the only 4 things you need to do to hit 50k a month as a shadow operator. And as long as you do these things, nothing else matters and you will grow and scale your shadow operating business. Now, back in 2023, when I started my first shadow operating business, I was stuck at 10k for that month. And the reason why is because I was focused on so many different things, my attention was scattered, and I wasn't really moving forward in the business. But when I realized that I just needed to cut everything down to the essential tasks that actually move the business forward, I discovered almost a quadrant of things that I needed to do in order to move forward. So that's what this video is about today, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you so that you no longer have to waste any more time and wondering what to do, and you can just focus on the things that matter. So the first thing I want to cover is that just because you're working all day doesn't mean you're actually making steps towards your business and generating revenue. There's a big difference. Now, I know this for myself because when I got started as an entrepreneur many years ago, I would always spend so much time on creating the perfect business name and the perfect logo. And that stuff is super fun to do, right? But the problem is it doesn't actually correlate to you making money. Now, the things that are painful, such as, reaching out to clients, taking sales calls, coming up with ideas for content, the painful stuff is the stuff that makes you money. So it's very important to be aware and conscious of the things you're doing each day, even if it means you need to literally create a Google Doc and list out everything that you worked on the business. And then when you visually can see, oh, okay, I've just built my LinkedIn profile, I've learned something to do with AI, you're going to be more conscious of your actions and know, does it fit into one of these 4 categories that I'm about to cover? So I just really wanted to share that because you don't need to learn everything and every software out there. And I have spoken to many people this week telling me they've been learning AI tools. That's great, but when it comes to this business model, you don't need to do any of that. So let's get into the very first thing you need to focus on, which is to nail your shadow operating positioning. So here's what this means for you. You really need to get clear on who you want to shadow operate for. There might be a particular niche or particularly a person that you would like to work with. You can't just go for anyone and everyone. So really think about the type of creator and influencer that you want to work with, because you'll be spending a lot of time with them and working with them on this business. And the next, you need to understand what problem you want to solve. So do you want to come in and set up the systems in the back end and then scale the business with the influencer? Or do you just want to create a digital product and set it up once? So you really need to know what you want to solve, right? And the next point is you want to be able to craft a partnership that makes sense for both you and the influencer. So you don't want to come into the conversation with an influencer saying, look, I'll be your VA or I'll just help you build this website. Not at all. You need to come in and say, look, I'm going to be your partner with this. I'll set up the entire back end. Let me take a revenue cut of 30 to 50%. So that's how you need to position yourself, as a partner, not a freelancer. And you also want to build genuine expertise in what you're doing. So your very first client, you will be learning along the way because you've never done it before. But that's good because you're going to become an expert in the tools and the systems that you need so that later on you can just replicate using the same systems that you've utilized with this influencer. Now, if you want a shortcut and you don't want to go through the months or potentially a year of trial and error, then you can click that first link in the description to apply to work with me. I'll come in as your mentor and essentially hand you my system that I've used to generate over 7 figures in revenue through my shadow operating business. So I hope you understood the first part, which was the foundations and why it's so important. You need to be able to clearly explain to an influencer what shadow operating is in one sentence. Because if you can't confidently pitch them, then they never want to work with you. So after you finish watching this video, I want you to come up with a sentence. So it will be something like, I shadow operate for who? So that who will be fitness influencers, beauty influencers, whatever. You insert that niche who struggle with specific problem. Now this problem might be monetization, right? By specific solution. So it might be building back-end systems and becoming a shadow operator. So once you can clearly define who you're helping, what you're solving, then you can start going out and getting clients. Now that leads me on to my second point, and the second thing that you need to focus on as a shadow operator is booking partnership conversations. And all this really means is getting qualified creators or influencers on a call with you so that you can start the partnership with them. Now, the best method for this is outreach. And of course, it's painful and difficult, but remember what I talked about earlier, the things that are painful are the things that you need to be focused on. Otherwise, you're not really working. So this is the second one. You need to be reaching out to influencers that you want to work with and essentially create a spreadsheet and a list, and every single day collect a list of influencers that you can reach out to and essentially craft a personalized message, whether that be a voice message or a Loom video like I mentioned in one of my last videos. And this is the second most important thing after the foundations, because you can't shadow operate for anyone without having these conversations. So I want you to go out there, start finding creators you want to work with, and then reaching out to them and hopping on calls with them. And the faster you can do this step and get on a call with qualified influencers, the faster you're going to have a client to start doing this business model for. And when I say qualified, it means someone that you'd want to work with. So, are they in your niche? Do they have this specific problem? And of course, do they have a minimum of 50 to 100K followers, because you do need that traffic in order to be able to generate the sales, right? And to tell you the truth, you only need one creator to build this business to 30 to 50K a month. And I know because I've done it. So go out there, go book those calls with influencers, and as soon as you can secure a partnership, my advice would be to go all in on that one. Because once you can get that one partnership to work, then later on, you can go ahead and secure another one. And before I move on to the next step, I just want to make a quick point that the outreach really needs to be personalized. I don't want to see generic DMs like you guys have been sharing with me. It needs to be something that they will actually reply to. So if that means spending a little bit more time, like 10, 20 minutes researching the influencer so that you can come up with a personalized message, then it's completely worth it, because you need to be able to get them to respond. That is the goal of this step. And if you do this every single day, you will have an influencer in no time. But you really need to be proactive and really putting in the volume and the reps to be able to get a creator. So the third thing you want to focus on to build your shadow operating business is closing partnership deals. Okay, so you're reaching out to these influencers and you might have some interest or replies, and you've got them on a call. Now what? Well, you need to build an enticing partnership offer for them to agree to so that you can start the business. So this call is all about pitching the partnership and not an employment structure. So you really need to make it clear that you're coming on as a partner. There's no upfront risk really or investment on their side. It's simply an agreement between you and the influencer that your working relationship will be a partnership, not an employment. So to do this step successfully, you will need to prepare a roadmap and almost lay it out for them so that they can see with their own eyes the potential of this business model, and they understand their responsibilities and your responsibilities. Again, I have many templates and scripts on this, so if you are interested, then definitely click that link. So if you've done this step correctly, you'll send over the partnership agreement and they'll basically want to start working with you. So that's why it's super important to position yourself as the person who builds the revenue engine, the back-end systems to the business, so they see you as a partner, not as an employee. And you definitely want to prepare a partnership agreement beforehand so that you can actually present it to them on the call once they're interested. All right, so now that you've signed your partnership agreement, this leads me on to my fourth and final thing that you need to focus on, which is to deliver the results that you have promised the influencer. And this is basically the fun part, because this is where you get to build the systems for the influencer, the website, the funnels, the sales systems. This is the easy part. Securing the partnership is the difficult part, and that's why it's the first 1, 2, and 3 things. But once you've done that and you've secured a partnership, basically you can just focus on the fourth thing only, and all your time can just be focused on the one influencer that you've signed. But at the beginning, obviously you don't have that luxury, which is why the first 3 things you need to do are very crucial to get to the 4th step. Once you've secured a partnership with an influencer, they have essentially put their trust in you and you have to prove yourself now. So what you need to do is work with immense speed, do things at a very high level, and really start generating results so that the influencer will want to keep working with you. If you focus on signing up partnerships and you just do step 3, so you've got like 3 different creators, but you can't deliver on the 4th step, then you're going to have 3 very unhappy influencers. So you don't want to be doing that. That's why I recommend to focus on one influencer and lock in one partnership, because once you can go from A to Z once, you're going to be able to do it again. So once you get to this step, obviously you're going to need to know what softwares to use, how to build the sales systems, and set up the email marketing. I actually made a video last week, which you can check out, where I cover all the softwares I use to build my shadow operating business. So I think that one will be super useful for you. Go check that out after this video. But yeah, you also need to be able to track your metrics, because if you don't know your numbers, you don't know what to fix and you won't be able to grow the business. Let me give you an example. Let's say your website or landing page, right? You need to know how many people are clicking firstly on your landing page, and then from that step to the qualification step, what's the conversion rate for that? And then when they fill out the application form, what's the conversion rate for that? So by doing this, you're going to be able to get a number for each step or percentage, and then you're going to know actually how to improve it. Because if you don't know if your conversion rate is high or low, you won't know if it's good or not. So you need to track everything so you can see which part of your business you need to improve. And because you're working with an influencer, you essentially have a business partner, so you need to be very proactive in your communication, sending them WhatsApp, weekly Loom videos or updates so that they can see you're putting in the effort and earning your revenue share. And one very important step I can't emphasize enough is that if any problems come up in the business, you need to be able to identify it and fix it fast. Because let's say the link to the website isn't working and the influencer has just posted it to their story and no one found out after like 24 hours, that is 24 hours of potential clicks and traffic that could have come to the business. And if the influencer finds out before you do, then they're going to see you as incompetent. So you need to manage that and make sure everything is working. So constantly checking links, constantly testing your funnel to make sure everything is fluid. And the last point I want to cover on this is that you need to treat this business like it's yours, because it literally is. You're getting a part of the revenue. And although the brand and the product, whatever, is in the influencer's name, you are still responsible for running the entire back end and making sure the sales can actually come through. So I think that's part of the reason why I was able to build a successful shadow operating business, is because I literally was treating this business like it was my own. Those were the 4 things you need to focus on, and I really hope you're finding this video valuable. And just to quickly recap the shadow operating flywheel, here are the 4 things that create that compounding system. Firstly, you need to nail positioning. So finding out exactly who you're serving and what problem you will solve for them. Secondly, booking conversations with qualified creators who you want to work with. Thirdly is closing partnerships. So hopping on calls with influencers and signing a partnership agreement. And fourth, deliver results. So make your partner as much money as you can, because the more money you make them, the more money you make yourself. And if you do a good job, they might just refer you another influencer to work with. Now, I don't know how many of you know the 80-20 rule, but in this case, 80% of the results and revenue will come from this 20% of things you'll do, which are the 4 things I just mentioned. So if you focus only on these 4 things, you will generate 80% of the results. And the other 20%, well, these are just things that are nice to have. They're more polishing touches, but they're not essential. And I wouldn't recommend doing them before 50K a month. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I would appreciate if you could like and subscribe, as it helps my channel out a lot. Other than that, I'll see you on the next one.